So I'm sorry that I always do the live feeds, it seems like from the bed somewhere, but what happens is I'll wake up and start reading all of your comments and videos and stuff and feel compelled to educate you. So I am once again in a hotel, still in the bed, working the page. I was really inspired by Becca this morning, who sent a really heartfelt video, just talking about being down a pant size. And then reading a post. One lady was just frustrated, and she was like saying that it's so hard and it's tiring and all of that kind of stuff. And all I would say to that is I totally get it. Fascia blasting is it's a commitment. It's it's something you really have to set aside time for in your life. But to me, it's 100% worth it, because it's not just about beauty, it's about restoring your body and keeping it healthier and younger and pain-free and more functional, and it affects all the other systems of the body. So for the first thing that I want to say to you guys is that, like, I'm going to talk a little bit about cellulite, but for just a little bit, kind of forget about cellulite. Fascia blasting is about giving your body access to your blood and your nerves, which, the blood is what carries all the nutrients to the cell, and the nerves is what makes us function. So as far as I'm concerned, fascia blasting isn't something that should be an option. It should be 100% what you do just to be healthy. And if you do work out and diet and do all of those other things, fascia blasting is just something that's like nitrox to make those things better. So the first thing that I want to do is go back and clarify about the 4 types of cellulite. So there's hail damage, which is mainly at the surface. Most people who have hail damage, and I am a hail damager, we tend to start recoiling in our fascia in the very first layer. It's kind of, I don't know, I almost think it's the ugliest because it's sort of everywhere and you look like a golf ball. And then the second type of cellulite is car wreck. And sometimes you can have hail damage and car wreck at the same time, because you can have the little dents of hail damage and then the more severe dents of car wreck. So if you have bigger dents, multiple dents, kind of the bigger pits, those are the people that have car wreck. And then we have gummy. And gummy is basically, our fascia almost has a gummy type texture to it. So if the fascia has come in and stuck to your muscles and rendered them atrophied, and you have fat, then the gummy is a mixture of the fat, the sort of gummy fascia, and the gummy muscles. And you just end up being squishy all over. And you can still have ripples and dimples like hail damage and car wreck, but it's an overall most people who are like my legs are just big globs of fat. Those are people who are gummy, and it's a big problem because they have a fascia problem, a fat problem, and a muscle atrophy problem. And then we have our beyond bounders, which I hear the most from y'all because you feel like you're cursed, and you're not. But beyond bound is just when you've had fascia that's so tight that it's stuck to your muscles, and most people with beyond bound continue to condition the muscles. So now that you have a stuck muscle, you continue to grow the muscle, and it just keeps enlarging until the fascia is trapping everything. Kind of like, it makes me think of like those old school infomercials where they take the sweaters and they put them in the bags to put them away for winter, and they squish them down to like this. That's kind of the way the fascia works in beyond bound. So then you end up being one solid chunk. So with that said, the only people who should really experience a worse before better phase are people who are beyond bound, because it's one big chunk, and then you start to break it into smaller chunks. So for a very temporary time, you're going to have more chunks, but you're not worse. You look worse, but you're better. You're actually starting to break through something that is extremely unhealthy. Beyond bound are the people that end up level 7 on the fascia chart. They're the ones that end up with fibromyalgia, and they're the ones that keep training through it and end up tearing their meniscus and ripping their ACLs and things like that. So it's really important to understand that if you are a beyond bounder, that this is a process you need to go through for your health, and quit worrying about being a little chunky. I don't mean chunky fat, I mean chunky like smaller chunks. And I think people have kind of gotten the misconception that there's phases, like that maybe you start beyond bound and then you become car wreck and then you're in the gummy phase and whatever. It doesn't really work like that. But what can happen is that you can have different types of issues in one body. So for instance, I'm going to show you me, and just again, forgive me, I was just laying in bed and felt compelled. So I have some beyond bound places on my body, and one of them is my C-section scar area right here. Not C-section, I'm so sorry, my hip replacement. And I had multiple surgeries here and a hip replacement here, and this tissue right here in between, see how I can't really get after it? I do nugget this and I do fascia blast it, but because there's so much scarring, it is a constant fight for me to get that part of my body to not be beyond bound. So I have beyond bound there, and then another place on my body that loves to be beyond bound is my stupid ankles, okay? This is something that, I mean, even when I try to, let's see if you can see it, even when I try to pinch or do anything, you can see that it just doesn't want to give. So that's actually a beyond bound part. So hip replacement, beyond bound ankles, and then occasionally if I've done a lot of surfing, I can get a little beyond bound in my arms. So just know that you can have spots of beyond bound. And then as far as car wreck, I think I've shown you guys before, sometimes I get a dent below my hip replacement scar when I'm in standing, because the scar tissue is sitting and it causes a dent that's like car wreck. And then if I go, I don't know, if I were to stop for a whole month and eat crappy and get dehydrated, then my entire whole tops of my legs would be hail damage. And even sometimes now I get a little hail damage just above the knee, because my joints are not completely stable all the time. I don't personally have any gummy going on in my own body because I've spent my whole life developing muscle. So the only people who are gummy are people who have pretty severe atrophy. So anyway, I hope that helps kind of explain that there's 4 types of fascia, that you can have multiple types of problems on your body in various areas, and that this whole worse before better is such a, it's hardly any of our viewers. I think that what happens is people just get on there and start talking about how they're worse. That's why I put you guys on blast and ask for your pictures, because there's a factor here that we all have to talk about, and I'm going to be the mama bear and talk about it. Women are crazy. We look at our bodies every single day. We batter ourselves about where we are. We fixate on specific areas. So if you're not sending me pictures of clean, good before and where you are now, then I don't even want to advise you, because then I have to figure in the crazy factor. It's like somebody who's losing weight. You don't see it every day. You've got to put apples next to apples, oranges next to oranges, and really look at where the progress is. So my big closing statement on all of this is to take the pictures. Even if you didn't do them before and you've been doing it a month, go take them now. Have somebody get you in standing. Don't pose. Get a front, back, and side, particularly of areas that you want to work on. Put some diligent, hard effort into addressing it, and then send me your pictures. I can get anyone over the hump. I don't ever want to hear that, oh, the FasciaBlaster is not for everyone. It is for everyone. Good fascia is for every single person, and the FasciaBlaster will work for every single person. It may not work with 3 minutes twice a week. You may have to start heating. You may have to really look at your diet and see if something's jacking up your fascia. You may have to go back and listen to Billionaire Healthcare Body Hacks, where I talk about how, the different exercises mess up your fascia, because you don't want to take 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. You want to take 3 steps forward and hopefully like a half a step back. So I hope that clarifies for you guys. And just remember, if you ever have any questions, not only can you get support from the group, there's tons of women who've been through this now. We've had the product up and going over a year, and tons of women who've been through, the worst before bed or beyond bound, car wreck, hail damage, the gummies, all of them where they look like they had dead legs. Everybody's been through this. So let the women help you. But if you really are sincerely feeling like you're stuck, PM me your pictures. I will help you, but don't get frustrated. Don't get emotional. Quit being such a girl. Put your big girl pants on and just blast. Just go blast.